Last week, President Biden had this to say about unvaccinated Americans.
Tonight, I'm asking each of you to reach out to your unvaccinated patients over the next 2 weeks and make a personal appeal to them to get the shot. America needs your personal involvement in this critical effort. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing.
While recent polls show support for the new federal mandate on vaccines, do voters agree with Biden's decision to call out unvaccinated Americans? We have new Hill-HarrisX data on the matter. Let's take a look at that. The poll found 51% of voters say Biden was right to call out unvaccinated Americans, while 36% said it was wrong and 14% were unsure. Among partisan voters, 74% of Democrats and 52% of independents said Biden was right to call out the unvaccinated, while 62% of Republicans said that was wrong. 61% of voters who are vaccinated said Biden was right to criticize the unvaccinated, while 56% of unvaccinated voters said it was wrong of Biden. I think the most interesting here was that a small number of unvaccinated voters thought that Biden was right to criticize unvaccinated voters, to criticize them. What do you make of this, Kim?
Well, I mean, it's possible that those who are unvaccinated are the ones that can't take the vaccine, right? And that's kind of always been the idea behind everybody getting vaccinated because, you know, for example, like measles, me having the measles vaccine, when I travel around the world or just going about my daily life, I don't ask people if they've had the measles vaccine. I don't care because I know I'm particularly protected. But the reason why there's, you know, I guess the justification for mandates in schools here in the United States for measles is, well, because there are some kids who cannot have the vaccine. So therefore, everyone needs to take it so that those who can't are protected. So I think that might explain that 14% possibly. But overall, this poll doesn't surprise me. You turn on CNN or MSNBC and they're talking about the unvaccinated and the pandemic of the unvaccinated. So a lot of Democrats are going to say, yeah, it's the unvaccinated's fault. I think for independent voters, it's a lot of everybody just wants this to be over with. We want the magic bullet, right, that's going to say that we can all just magically take and make this thing go away. And then there's others probably in that 30% or so that are like me that are looking at the data saying, guys, I hate to break it to you, but it is really clear to me now. This is not the way out of the pandemic. We need another way. We need a multi-pronged focus on this. But Ryan, what do you think?
Well, hospitals across the country are raising the alarm on reaching their capacity due to the rise in COVID-19 cases. Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and Arkansas have less than 10% left of their ICU bed capacity, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. Families are urging unvaccinated Americans to get the shot in the obituaries of their loved ones, like the family of an Alabama man who passed due to a cardiac emergency. The family wrote, quote, "Due to COVID-19, CRMC emergency staff contacted 43 hospitals in 3 states in search of a cardiac ICU bed and finally located one in Meridian, Mississippi. In honor of Ray, please get vaccinated if you have not, in an effort to free up resources for non-COVID related emergencies." Late night host Jimmy Kimmel, quote unquote, joked about not giving ICU beds to unvaccinated Americans.
The number of new cases is up more than 300% from a year ago. Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
I mean, that might be a decent late night bit, but it's a horrific way to think about how to partition out scarce resources. At the same time, we are partitioning out scarce healthcare resources as a result of people refusing to get the vaccine. And so I think that is a significant reason that you see this number, this strong support for Biden calling out and shaming people who haven't gotten vaccinated. I don't necessarily think that's the best and most effective way to get it done, but I do understand the politics of it. That the view that it's a personal choice and doesn't affect anybody else doesn't take into account the pressure that it's putting on our healthcare system, and people are sitting at home worrying, what if somebody in my family or somebody that I know has a crisis and needs care, and then they're going to transfer that anger at people who they feel like are making selfish decisions. Well, I think that's what explains this number.
It's interesting to see. I think it's pretty ghastly what Kimmel said, but it's almost more of a, as a libertarian, I've tended toward to be concerned about some of the healthcare. We're all going to pay for everything. I would prefer to devolve risk somewhat to the individual.
Right, and as a libertarian, you're like, how much cash you got?
Well, society is not good at paying for collective risk. If you want to take on more medical risk or other kind of risk, I think you should be free to do that. But then you should bear the cost of that kind of decision. We have not moved in that decision whatsoever. Right. We've gone totally the other way. Yeah. No, we're all going to pay for everyone's everything, and then you end up in this situation where, well, some people are riskier, some people are making decisions we don't like, but I thought we settled this argument that we're going to take care of people no matter what. So now that it's those people are a class of people that your Jimmy Kimmel types are unsympathetic to, then they want to go in the libertarian direction.
Yeah, I do. Right. It's rolling back even the meager gains of Obamacare to say that, for instance, if you're unvaccinated, you should pay more for health insurance. And I think once you open that door, it goes in very dark.
If you're obese, should you pay more for health care?
Right. Or a smoker.
I think it goes in very dark places. Right, it goes in very dark places. But that's a separate question of deciding not to get unvaccinated and then clogging up the ICU. You have a right to that ICU bed. You don't have a right, people not being pissed off at you for taking it.
The obesity thing is kind of close, though, because obese people are extraordinarily more likely to have a negative health outcome associated with COVID-19.
Yeah, the whole country's obese, so...
Well, not everybody.
Not morbidly obese.
Right.
But
there's definitely
the majority of the country.
I don't know if it's the majority. I think it might be 40-something%.
I think the majority might on the body mass BMI, index, which is a very not good measurement.
Unfair, very unfair.
But do we want to be body shaming people? And that's why it's such a. I'm curious at how Jimmy Kimmel felt about. Wasn't he the one that was saying Medicare for all? Because of his child that had the heart condition or something, and wasn't he the one that was crying on television,
saying
he was. We need Medicare for all because some family members can't afford this, and so it reels us backwards when we say, well, we're only going to base it based on your own individual decision. So if you've decided to gain a bunch of weight, then we're not going to, or if you decide to, whatever it might be, risky sports or smoking or
right,
I don't know,
McDonald's or. Anything.
Yeah.
You could wholesale ban or require people to make different decisions that would make them healthier, and then our hospitals would be somewhat less over. I get that it's a pandemic and it's slightly different, and I want people to get vaccinated. I don't know, how can you sell that? The militantly anti-vaccine person, I don't know how you can sell them necessarily, but there are still plenty of people, you don't hear about them as much, who haven't gotten vaccinated, but they're willing to get vaccinated. They just don't prioritize it in the same way that we do. Right? I know some people watch it would think that's ludicrous, but that's the calculation they're making, and you could make it easier for them. You could softly nudge them without being coercive or shaming, and I think it would work.
Right, and the body count has also driven a lot of people to get vaccinated. Yeah. Like, oh, y'all were serious about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a horrible thing we're all going through, but we also have to be cognizant of, even if it seems necessary, some of these mandates and this shame, giving government more power in situations like this, it never goes away. I've made drawn a lot of parallels to Patriot Act and security theater around 9/11. I mean, I agree that some of these measures we're taking seem very vital and important, but what new powers will the CDC claim for itself permanently because of this? Right. That we should all be alarmed about.
In Israel, they're saying you're going to have to get four shots. So I'm curious.
Australia is terrifying. I think what Australia's done is legitimately terrifying.
Too.
That's crazy to me.
Something weird's going on in Australia.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Something weird's always going on down under, right? I mean, that's kind of like the whole premise of Australia, isn't it? Something weird's going on down there.
A new Kaiser Family Foundation analysis estimates that preventable costs for treating hospitalized unvaccinated COVID-19 patients reached almost $6 billion over the last 3 months. The study takes into account the rise in hospitalizations during August, which accounted for roughly $4 billion of preventable costs.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but does this take into consideration the rise in medical care costs that these guys have been inflating? I mean, let's get real here. When they want to add these...
If it's from July to August, of course it takes that into account. I think it's fine to make all the arguments you want, but this is a consequence of people not getting vaccinated, going to the hospital and dying like that. We can't just chalk that up to inflation and healthcare spending. This is a real thing.
No. I'm not saying that this is an inflation issue. Of like a small, in 1 month the costs have inflated. I'm talking about the cost of medical overall. These numbers sound alarming when they say, it's going to cost us $6 billion because of these unvaccinated people. Well, it only costs that much because the medical industry inflates the prices of all the treatments. When you go over to the UK and you ask them, how much did it cost you? That's the question
Those prices were the same a year ago and a month ago and 3 months ago, and it's still it's not the
overall.
It's not the price.
Right, the price today.
Okay, so if we had a more efficient healthcare system, then preventable COVID illnesses might have only cost $2 billion over the course of that month. So
we need a robust medical system, and instead of pushing everyone to get a vaccine that clearly, when you're looking at the data, is going to end up with us getting 15 jabs to stop the spread, then look, I mean, we need to be talking about building our medical infrastructure. I don't know why everybody who was for Medicare for All suddenly got off that train. This was the time to be talking about we need a robust medical system.
Actually, the weird part is that so many people who were for Medicare for all of a sudden are like, actually, no, don't trust the FDA, don't trust the CDC, don't trust this medical system that we want to actually be Medicare for all. That's
I don't trust.
No.
I've lost faith. I mean,
Robby never claimed to have faith.
I never had faith. Actually, I have less faith in them than I did 2 years before. I mean, with the repeated scrolls, which is not. There's faith in the science and the progress we've made and the innovation that's happened. That's good. The regulatory bureaucratic process is very clunky and needs to be reformed or stripped down. Right. It's self-protective and has sought power for itself in a way that I think it is at the expense of democratic decision making, at the expense of individual choice, at the expense of all sorts of things that has truly alarmed me.
But I just think if you're going to discourage people from getting the vaccine, if you're going to suggest that it doesn't work, then you have to own the consequences of it and not chalk them up to other to the problems with the U.S. healthcare system, which are true, which are endemic, which need to be fixed, but were the same 3 months ago as they are today.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. But Politico did just come out with a pretty bombshell report yesterday, and I think we are going to be getting some big news coming in from Fauci and the others later this week or maybe next week. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the best way to sell people on the vaccines is let them shed their mask when they walk when you enter the restaurant before you sit down. the kind of stupid, pointless things that I think erodes trust in the entire system, that anyone in charge knows what they're doing. They broadly know what they're doing, but some of the things they've told us to are really stupid, and I wish they'd stop saying it. Thanks for watching What America's Thinking. We'll see you all next time.